First contact's folly. The Helios harvester wasn't much to look at. Its hull bore the scars of a decade's worth of asteroid mining, and its blocky industrial design made most alien species wince at its apparent lack of sophistication. Captain Sarah Chen liked it that way. The less attention her ship drew, the better. She stood at the bridge's main viewport, watching as the massive crystalline vessel of the Zixtai Confederation approached. The aliens had been following them for 3 days now, ever since the harvester's deep space sensors had detected something unusual in asteroid belt KR 392. "They're hailing us again," First Officer Mike Rodriguez reported from his station, his weathered face illuminated by holographic displays that looked intentionally antiquated. "Their science minister seems particularly interested in our recent mining activities." Sarah suppressed a smile. The Zixtai, with their self-proclaimed superior technology and crystalline ships, always did have trouble understanding human engineering philosophy. "Put them through, Mike." The holographic display flickered to life, revealing Science Minister Vilara, her crystalline form refracting light, in what the Zixtai considered a gesture of authority. "Captain Chen, I must insist you share your sensor data from the KR 392 belt. Our readings suggest you've encountered an artifact of significant archaeological importance." "Minister Vilara," Sarah replied, maintaining a carefully neutral expression. "As I mentioned before, our mining operation falls under the Protection of Human Industrial Assets Act. We're not obligated to share our findings." The science minister's crystalline structure flickered with what Sarah recognized as irritation. "Captain, your primitive mining vessel barely qualifies as spacefaring by Confederation standards. The artifact you've discovered requires sophisticated handling that your equipment simply isn't capable of providing." Behind Sarah, Chief Engineer Raj Patil quietly worked at his station, his fingers dancing across what appeared to be an obsolete mechanical keyboard. To the Zixtai, it probably looked like he was struggling with outdated technology. In reality, he was activating the harvester's more interesting features. "Minister," Sarah continued, "we appreciate your concern, but we're fully capable of handling our discovery. Perhaps we could discuss this further once we've completed our preliminary analysis." Vilara's crystalline form pulsed with barely contained frustration. "Captain, I have 6 Confederation science vessels en route to your location. For your own safety and the preservation of whatever artifact you found, I strongly suggest you prepare for their arrival. Your primitive shields and minimal defensive capabilities would make any resistance inadvisable." Sarah noted how the minister hadn't actually threatened them. The Confederation was too diplomatic for that. But the implication was clear. Hand over the discovery, or else. "Understood, Minister. We'll maintain our current position and await their arrival." "Chen out." Sarah terminated the transmission and turned to her crew. "Status." Raj looked up from his station, dark eyes twinkling. "They still haven't detected anything beyond our primitive outer hull systems. The quantum core is masked, and all advanced systems are running in passive mode. They're completely buying the struggling mining vessel act." "Good." Sarah moved to the center of the bridge, where a holographic representation of their discovery floated above the main tactical table. Technology that would have shocked their Zixtai observers had they known about it. "Because what we found out there changes everything, and I'll be damned if we're letting the Confederation get their crystals on it first." The hologram showed what appeared to be a small angular object, barely larger than a shuttle. But its readings defied everything humans and aliens thought they knew about physics. It was exactly the kind of discovery that could shift the balance of power in the galaxy, if they could keep it out of Confederation hands long enough to understand it. Mike looked up from his station. "Sarah, we've got multiple ships dropping out of FTL at the edge of the system. Confederation signatures, big ones." "Right on schedule." Sarah nodded. "Raj, time to show them why humans still use primitive mechanical systems. Initiate Protocol Trojan Horse." As the Confederation ships approached, their crystalline forms gleaming with assumed superiority, The Helios harvester's true nature remained hidden beneath its scared and humble exterior. The aliens were about to learn why humans had survived and thrived in a hostile galaxy. Sometimes, the simplest-looking solution hid the most sophisticated answer of all. The real show was about to begin, and Sarah Chen couldn't wait to see the minister's face when she realized just how primitive human technology really was. Pride before the fall. The Confederation fleet emerged from FTL in a dazzling display of crystalline geometry. 6 massive vessels, each one gleaming like a carved diamond, arranged themselves in a perfect hexagonal pattern around the Helios harvester. From his engineering station, Raj Patel had to admire their sense of aesthetics, even if their attitude left much to be desired. "They're launching shuttles," Mike reported, his fingers hovering over what appeared to be an ancient trackball interface. "Multiple boarding parties, by the look of it. And their weapons are powered, though not actively targeting us yet." Sarah Chen stood at the center of her bridge, watching the tactical display with calm focus. "Raj, how's our primitive mining vessel holding up?" "Oh, we're struggling terribly, Captain," Raj replied with a grin, tapping away at his mechanical keyboard. "Our outdated systems are barely holding together. Would be a shame if someone tried to interface with them." The main screen lit up as another transmission came through. This time, it wasn't just Science Minister Valera. She was accompanied by Fleet Commander Zixtal, his crystalline form larger and more imposing than the minister's. "Captain Chen." The commander's voice resonated with authority. "Your vessel is now under Confederation protection. Please power down your engines and prepare for boarding. Our teams will secure the artifact and ensure its proper handling." Sarah adopted an expression of concerned confusion. "Commander, with all due respect, we've discovered this artifact in human-controlled space, under interstellar law." "Under interstellar law?" Valera interrupted. "The Confederation has authority to seize control of any situation involving artifacts that exceed the technological capabilities of the discovering species. Your vessel's primitive systems cannot possibly maintain the containment fields necessary for safe transport." As if on cue, the harvester's external lights flickered. Raj had timed it perfectly, making it appear as though their power systems were struggling. "Captain," he called out, letting worry color his voice, "we're having some fluctuations in the main grid. These ships' energy emissions might be interfering with our older systems." The commander's crystalline form shimmered with what might have been satisfaction. "You see, Captain, your vessel is already being affected by our advanced technology. Stand down and let us handle this properly." Sarah made a show of reluctantly considering their options. "How can we be sure you'll respect our right of discovery?" "You have my word as fleet commander," Zixtal replied. "Your crew will receive full credit for the initial finding, and will ensure your primitive vessel receives an escort back to human space." Behind her back, Sarah's fingers moved in a subtle pattern, a silent signal to her crew. Around the bridge, hidden systems began powering up, their activation masked by the apparent power fluctuations Raj was creating. "Very well, Commander," Sarah sighed. "We'll power down our engines, but I want it noted that we're doing this under protest." "Noted, Captain," Valera said, unable to keep the smugness from her voice. "Prepare for boarding. We'll have you out of this situation shortly." As the transmission ended, Mike looked up from his station. "Boarding shuttles are on approach. Their sensors are still only detecting our outer hull systems. They haven't noticed the quantum shielding or the adaptive defense grid." "Of course they haven't," Sarah replied, allowing herself a small smile. "They're too convinced of their own superiority to look past the surface. Raj, are we ready for guests?" The engineer's fingers danced across his keyboard, executing commands that were far more sophisticated than the ancient interface would suggest. "Oh yes, Captain. Our primitive systems are ready to give them quite the education." The first boarding shuttle was nearly at their airlock when Sarah gave the order. "Initialize Protocol Trojan Horse, Phase 2. Let's show our friends from the Confederation why humans still use mechanical interfaces." Throughout the harvester, systems that had laid dormant began to wake. Beneath its scared hull, technology that would have shocked the Confederation hummed to life. The aliens were about to learn that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in showing off their capabilities. It was in making others underestimate them until the perfect moment. And that moment had finally arrived. The awakening. The Confederation boarding shuttle sealed itself against the Helios Harvester's airlock with a soft thud. Through the external cameras, Sarah Chen watched the Zix-Tai boarding team prepare themselves, their crystalline forms shifting with anticipated triumph. They were about to get the surprise of their lives. "Raj," she called out, "how about we give our guests a proper human welcome?" "With pleasure, Captain." The engineer's fingers flew across his archaic keyboard, initiating automated defense protocols. Now, as the outer airlock door cycled open, the Zix-Tai boarding team was met not with the expected primitive mechanical systems, but with a shimmering quantum barrier. Their scanning equipment, calibrated to detect only the simplest human technology, failed to register the sophisticated energy field until they were already pressing against it. "Captain," Mike reported, suppressing a laugh, "they're attempting to breach the barrier with standard Confederation override protocols. Should I let them keep trying?" "Give them a minute," Sarah replied, watching the confused aliens on her screen. "Let them really think about it." On the main viewer, Science Minister Vilura's image appeared again, her crystalline form pulsing with agitation. "Captain Chen, what is the meaning of this? Your vessel's specifications showed no such defensive capabilities." "Really?" Sarah raised an eyebrow. "And you believed everything those specifications told you? Minister, did it never occur to you to ask why humans, with our supposedly primitive technology, have managed to hold our own in this galaxy?" Before Vilura could respond, Fleet Commander Zixtal's image joined the transmission. "Captain, you will deactivate these illegal defensive systems immediately. Or what, Commander?" Sarah's voice carried a steel edge now. "You'll fire on us. Try to breach our hull. Please, be my guest. I'm sure your fleet would love to explain to the Galactic Council why they attacked a human vessel in human space." As if to emphasize her point, the harvester's outer hull began to shift. Panels that had appeared to be simple metal plating retracted, revealing rows of quantum phase cannons, weapons that shouldn't have existed on a primitive mining vessel. "Impossible," Vilura whispered, her crystalline form flickering with shock. "These technologies, they're beyond even Confederation capabilities." "Not impossible, Minister," Raj called out from his station, still typing on his beloved mechanical keyboard. "Just carefully hidden. You see, while you were busy building prettier ships and showing off your advanced technology, we humans were focusing on something else entirely." Sarah nodded. "We learned early on that the best way to survive in this galaxy wasn't to parade our achievements around. It was to let others underestimate us, to perfect our technology in secret while everyone else assumed we were struggling to catch up." On the tactical display, Mike highlighted the Confederation fleet's formation. "Their weapons are charging, Captain, but they're still using standard targeting protocols. They haven't adapted to our quantum signature yet." "Of course they haven't," Sarah smiled. "They're still trying to target a primitive mining vessel. Raj, show them what they're really dealing with." The engineer pressed a final key with flourish. Across the harvester's hull, layers of advanced technology began to reveal themselves. Quantum shields shimmed into visibility, adaptive armor plates shifted and realigned, and sensor arrays far more sophisticated than anything the Confederation possessed emerged from their hiding places. But it was what happened next that truly shocked the alien fleet. The artifact they had been so eager to claim suddenly resonated with the Harvester's systems, responding to frequencies and protocols that the humans had apparently known about all along. "You see, Commander," Sarah explained to the stunned Zixtal, "we didn't just stumble across this artifact. We've been tracking it for months, waiting for the right moment to retrieve it. Those primitive mining sensors you mocked, they're actually quantum resonance detectors, disguised to look outdated." Velara's form had lost much of its previous certainty. But why maintain this deception? Why not show your true capabilities? Sarah's expression turned serious. Because, Minister, we learned long ago that the greatest advantage isn't in having the most advanced technology. It's in having technology that your potential adversaries don't know about. Now shall we discuss this situation as equals, or would you prefer a demonstration of just how primitive human engineering can be? Tables turned. The silence that followed Captain Chen's revelation stretched across space like a taut wire. The Confederation fleet hung motionless, their crystalline forms refracting starlight in patterns that seemed less confident than before. On the Helios Harvester's bridge, Mike Rodriguez kept his eyes on the tactical display, watching for any sign of aggressive movement. Their weapon systems are powering down, he reported, though his hands remained ready on his controls. Looks like they're finally getting the message. Fleet Commander Zixtal's image on the main screen had lost its imperious bearing. His crystalline structure had shifted to a more neutral configuration, a sign of uncertainty in his species. Captain Chen, you must understand our position. If what you've demonstrated is genuine, it represents a significant shift in our understanding of human capabilities. Oh, it's genuine. Raj called out from his station, still typing away at his mechanical keyboard. And what you're seeing isn't even our latest tech. This is just what we're comfortable revealing. Sarah watched as that information sank in. The implications were clear. If this was what humans were willing to show, what else were they hiding? She could practically see the calculations running through the commander's crystalline mind. Minister Velara. Sarah addressed the science minister, whose form had been unusually still and quiet. You're wondering about the artifact, aren't you? Wondering why it responds to our supposedly primitive systems. The minister's form flickered with barely contained frustration. Your technology shouldn't be capable of interfacing with it. Our preliminary scan suggested it required quantum resonance patterns that you thought only the Confederation had mastered. Sarah finished for her. Minister, humanity hasn't survived this long by accident. We learned early on that showing off our capabilities only made us targets. So we adapted. We hide our best technology behind layers of seemingly outdated systems. On cue, Raj activated another set of previously hidden systems. The Harvester's hull shifted again, revealing sensor arrays that made the Confederation's best equipment look primitive in comparison. The artifact, still floating between their ships, pulsed with new energy as it responded to the human vessel's signals. Captain, Mike interrupted, we're picking up quantum communications between their ships. They're requesting guidance from their high command. Sarah smiled. This was the moment she'd been waiting for. Commander Zixtal, before you file that report, consider this. Everything you thought you knew about human technological capabilities has just been proven wrong. How certain are you about your other assumptions regarding humanity? The commander's crystalline form shifted uneasily. Are you threatening us, Captain? Not at all. Sarah replied smoothly. I'm offering you an opportunity. Instead of reporting this as a confrontation, why not frame it as a diplomatic breakthrough? The moment when the Confederation discovered that humans were more advanced allies than they realized. Velara's form brightened slightly. The minister was quick to see the potential. An official technological exchange program, perhaps. One that could benefit both our species. Exactly, Sarah nodded. Though this time, as equals rather than teacher and student. After all, we've just demonstrated that both our species have things to learn from each other. The tension on the bridge began to ease as the Confederation fleet's posture shifted from confrontational to diplomatic. Raj's fingers slowed their dance across his keyboard, though they remained ready for any sudden changes. Mike's tactical display showed the alien vessels adjusting their formation into a more neutral pattern. Commander Zixtal's form had regained some of its composure, though the previous arrogance was notably absent. Your proposal has merit, Captain. But you understand this changes everything about our relationship with humanity. That was rather the point, Commander, Sarah replied. though I suspect humanity's reputation for using primitive technology might persist for a while longer. After all, it's proven quite useful in situations like this. As if to emphasize her point, Raj made a show of adjusting something on his mechanical keyboard, causing one of the most sophisticated quantum arrays ever built to respond instantly. The contrast between the apparently outdated interface and the advanced technology it controlled wasn't lost on their alien observers. "You know," Raj commented, "there's something elegant about using simple tools to control complex systems. Less chance of quantum interference, more reliable in combat situations, harder to hack." He patted his keyboard affectionately. Sometimes the old ways really are the best ways. Respect earned. 3 days after the standoff, the Helios Harvester's mess hall had become an impromptu diplomatic chamber. Captain Sarah Chen sat across from Fleet Commander Zixtal and Science Minister Vilara, watching with amusement as the alien dignitaries tried to process what they were seeing. "You're telling me," Vilara's crystalline form flickered with disbelief, "that this beverage synthesizer is actually a quantum molecular reconstructor, disguised as a simple coffee machine?" Raj, who had insisted on being present for this revelation, grinned as he tapped in a command on what appeared to be a basic numeric keypad. The machine hummed, and a moment later produced a perfect crystal cup containing a liquid that matched the exact molecular structure of a rare Confederation delicacy. "We find that hiding our advanced technology in plain sight has numerous advantages," he explained, sliding the cup toward Vilara. "People tend to ignore what they assume is primitive. They don't try to steal it, study it, or defend against it." Commander Zixtal's form had taken on a more contemplative configuration. "The more we learn about human technology, the more we realize how thoroughly we've underestimated your species. These past few days have been enlightening." Sarah nodded, sipping her own coffee. Actual coffee, in her case. "That's precisely why we maintain the deception. Your Confederation isn't the first advanced civilization to dismiss humanity as technologically backward, and I doubt you'll be the last." "But why?" Vilara asked, her scientific curiosity evident in her shifting crystalline patterns. "Why put so much effort into appearing less advanced than you are?" "Because," Mike answered from his position near the door, "it's easier to survive in this galaxy when potential adversaries don't see you as a threat. We learned that lesson early in our spacefaring history." Sarah set down her coffee cup. "Humanity's first encounters with alien civilizations taught us that showing off our technological capabilities only made us targets. So we adapted. We developed 2 parallel technological tracks, the visible one that everyone sees and dismisses, and the hidden one that keeps us safe. The artifact we found," Vilara began, her form brightening with sudden understanding. "You already knew what it was, didn't you? Your primitive mining operation was just a cover." "Of course," Sarah confirmed. "We've been tracking quantum signatures like that for decades, but it's much easier to study them when other species aren't trying to interfere, thinking we're too primitive to handle the discovery properly." Zixtal's form shifted in what Sarah had learned was their equivalent of a resigned sigh. "The Confederation will need to completely reassess its understanding of human technological capabilities. Our entire strategic approach to your species has been based on flawed assumptions." "That's not necessarily a bad thing," Commander Sarah replied. "Consider it an opportunity. Now that you know what we're truly capable of, we can work together as equals. Share knowledge, collaborate on research, face common challenges together." "And the deception?" Vilara asked. "Will humanity continue to hide its true capabilities?" Sarah exchanged glances with her crew before answering. "Minister, what you've seen is just the beginning. The technology we've revealed represents what we're comfortable sharing. Like that coffee machine. Practical applications of advanced science, hidden in plain sight. But just as you have your secrets, we'll keep ours." "Besides," Raj added, patting his ever-present mechanical keyboard, "sometimes the simple solution is the best solution. Why complicate things with neural interfaces and holographic controls when good old-fashioned buttons work just fine?" As if to demonstrate his point, he typed a quick command, and the mess hall's lighting shifted to accommodate the Confederation visitors' crystalline forms better. The aliens couldn't help but notice that the complex quantum-level environmental adjustment had been executed through what appeared to be an ancient interface. The Confederation prides itself on being at the forefront of technological advancement, Zixtel said, his form expressing what might have been humility. Perhaps we needed this reminder that advancement doesn't always mean obvious sophistication. Exactly, Sarah agreed. Humanity's strength isn't in showing off our capabilities. It's in knowing when to reveal them, and when to let others underestimate us. After all, she gestured to the coffee machine that had perfectly replicated alien molecular structures. Appearances can be deceiving. As the meeting concluded, and the alien dignitaries prepared to return to their ships, Sarah knew that humanity's relationship with the Confederation would never be the same. They had earned something far more valuable than technological recognition. They had earned respect. And somewhere in the depths of the Helios Harvester, behind its scared hull and seemingly outdated systems, technologies that even the Confederation couldn't imagine continued their silent work, waiting for the next time humanity needed to remind the galaxy that appearances weren't always what they seemed.